Thank you for sitting down and joining me to discuss the memo that I sent out regarding the code of ethics we are wanting to implement to our company. I just want to go over a few things in regard to the article that William sent. I think provided great perspective to the conversation. And Kate, your stance with Christianity and what it means to you. And I think I've come to a conclusion based on the two, that how best run this business. I had a chance to look over Carr's article, and I noticed that the main premise of his article was that the company should be treated, like a business in comparison to a poker game. How in poker, bluffing, working with others is part of the strategy of the game to gain upper hand and to benefit the hand that you have personally. And I understand how that works in business, and that the moral personal ethics and business ethics, based on his argument, are two separate things. And I do see how that works, but I don't necessarily agree with it. The first point I'd like to address is that Carr compares the business world to a game of poker. The first contradiction that I see with that is that people's lives are not a game. So when we're having business dealings with other people and customers, employees, it's their livelihoods that are at stake. So employees, if they get fired for something, or if it benefits the company that they get fired and it's not right, or a situation like that, that's their livelihood. They have mouths to feed, families to provide for. And so I don't want to treat that as a game. And same thing with our customers. They're buying our product and we're supplying for them. I want them to get the best experience. I don't want to treat their business like a game. The second point I'd like to bring up in the article is when Carr says we live in the world's most competitive civilized society, and because of that, more aggression has been brought into the business atmosphere over time, to where we look at the business world of ethics as a game in terms of playing the right cards, playing the right hand in certain situations. And that could be brought back to the biblical principle: you cannot serve God or money, and that the love of money is the root of all evil. So in the situation, because our culture has gotten so bad that we see business as a game of poker, it is due to the fact that people have fallen in love with money, that the regard for human life in terms of family matters, stuff outside of business dealings, have become second to profits. And that's what I don't want our company to be about. If you were to look at some of the companies mentioned in the article and the way that they do things, such as cutting corners and taking the easy way out, or like it had a mouthwash example that some people could get sick from the mouthwash because they cut corners. I don't want to ever be associated with that. Say those companies, if they were to have to tell the whole truth to their customer base, to their employees, about how they do their dealings and how they cut corners, just because it doesn't break the law, they would probably lose a good bit of their company. For one, with employees leaving, not want to be a part of the company, but they would lose a lot of their business, because the people that are buying from them would look at it like they're not ethical, they're not doing things the right way, and I don't want to be a part of that, and would those consumers would leave, and you'd lose out on that money. So I want to be transparent, so nothing could have the potential of being brought up. And again, another biblical principle is what's done in the dark will be brought to the light, and so I don't even want to take that chance. The third point I want to make in regard to the article is the tough decision making. So there's one section that says that what do you do when you have to fire someone of long standing in the company, when you have to manipulate advertising to try to make a product look better than it really is, concealing facts and things of that nature. The article says that when you're in these situations, you can't let your personal ethical values and self-interest affect the business game, again back to the game term of what you have to do for the business. Reading that part of the article, it reminded me of a story that I heard. It's called The Carpenter Story. And this carpenter, he was about ready to retire, just a few more years left, and his boss gave him one last project to do before he retired, and it was to fix up this old shack and turn it into a nice house. So the carpenter was like, okay, one last project, let's do it. He goes to build it. Well, he's like, well, this wood's a little cheaper, it'll save me some more money, let's use this wood. This mortar mix and concrete for the foundation is a little cheaper. Let me use this one and not what I would usually use. These techniques they'll do, but there's ways you can do it better, but these will do because it'll save me time. I don't have to invest in much in building it. So he basically took all the shortcuts he could, which there's nothing unethical about it. I mean, there's still like, based on his definition, you're still using stuff to build it with, and same techniques and all that kind of stuff, but it's just cheaper materials. And that's the shortcut he took. Well, he finished building the house, cheaper windows, cheaper anything you can think of, insulation, and finished building the house, told his boss, all right, I'm done, I'm ready to retire. And the boss handed him the keys to the house and said, this is your house. And the carpenter was struck and was like, man, I could have built this so much better if I knew it was for myself. And that's kind of what the whole article reminded me of, was the game is more self-centered in terms of how can the business be successful, and disregard the customer, the employees, any personal matters involved. It's more money than anything else. How can I be successful by playing my cards right, by playing the game, and disregards all the personal ethics stuff. And I think you can't have a business without having that personal feeling in your heart, like, am I doing something wrong? Am I doing them right? How can I make this better? Like that's a part of business. And you can't have a good business if you're just playing the game. The last point I'd like to make is actually a point in the article that actually proves my point right, or what I believe to be right, in that it gives a whole scenario of people that have certain decisions that they make in the business world. So one was a dude's about to retire, and if you fire him, he'll lose his pension. Another is with a produce manager, and with the tomatoes, fresh produce, does he keep one rotten one in the 6-pack to make it look like it's good, or does he just get rid of the bad tomatoes outright? Another example is where a manager has stock in another business, but the stock is in a son-in-law's account, not his own account, and he's stuck whether or not he should tell his company about it outright or not, or keep it, sweep it under the rug. And those are just a few examples of names that were in there. But then at the end of that segment of the article, it explains the decision they took. So for the first example, the guy that was about to retire, they kept him on, so it looks good for the company and for employee morale, but also for the guy that's retiring, for his benefit. And the second example with the rotten tomatoes, it's better just to get rid of all the rotten ones, so you don't one, poison somebody, and two, someone buy it and then find out one was bad, and then they're losing out on their money, hard-earned money that they worked for to buy your product. And for the last example, the guy that bought stock in a company through his son-in-law's account, it said that he told them early just to go ahead and get out of the way and explain the situation, rather than it come up later and look bad and reflect the company in a negative view. So in all these examples, the ethical decision, what any person would do ethically, like correct, that path was taken. And that proves to me that the best way to go about this is to live by a biblical code of ethics, because in a biblical code of ethics, you're going to pick that choice anyway, and it's going to reflect your company in a good way. But had the 3 examples in the article made the other decision, so with the produce, had they kept the rotten tomatoes in, had they fired the guy that was about to retire in the company, and had the manager swept all that stock stuff under the rug with his son-in-law, a lot more negative implications would have happened as a result. With that said, William, I hope you can understand why my vote is going to go to Kate's side in support of running the business on a biblical code of ethics. Not only will this allow us to run our company based on what Christ has for us, it'll also allow our own conscience to be reflected, and our own character be reflected through our own work. And I feel like this is the best way to run a business that one where our customers and employees can see, have transparency in our transactions, and that it's less could be done in the dark that could be brought to light later. So I feel like that's the best way to run things here. And I hope you could understand. I hope this explanation has brought more insight to what the article had presented and what I think, based on my biblical perspective personally, and through the perspective of what I saw in the article, and that all 3 of us can understand as the co-owners of this organization, that through a biblical code of ethics, we'll be able to outdo our competitors for one, and we'll be able to provide the best service to our own customers.